Hey guys, Pete here from Furniture by Pete, and today we're looking at a brand new 3D printer. This is by Longer. It's the LK5 Pro. I'm really excited about this printer from everything that I've read about it. So let's unbox it, put it together, and run it through some prints. First things first, let's unbox it, see what we got. Okay, so as you can see, it was packed incredibly well, and it comes 3/4 assembled. Really, the only parts that you're going to put together are right here, and if I get in close, you can see they are labeled nicely. And over here, this is just some tooling, scraper, a memory stick, some spare parts, which is nice, zip ties, and some practice filament. But let's start getting this together. It should look like a 3D printer in no time. Okay, so the first part of the assembly is this axis, which we know is going to go right on here. Now, keep in mind that there is a front and back to this. The front part is where these brackets are facing forward, because we're going to have some support arms that go from here to the front of the machine. Now, according to this diagram, we want to make sure that the extruder is on this side of the bracket. Also, on the back of the bracket, there are 2 holes here for a motor, and we want to make sure that that lines up with the side that has a motor here. So just keep that in mind, that we want to rotate it. And I'm actually going to have the brackets facing me. And we want the extruder to face me, as well as that side that has the holes for the motor. Let's see if we can slide that in, get the wheels to line up nicely. Just like that. See if we did it right. Okay, we have the holes here. So we have the motor here, holes here for the motor for the next step. And the extruder is facing me along with the brackets. So now, let's get the motor and the rod attached. Okay, so with this upside down, next step is to take the threaded rod, and we're going to screw that in. And next we're going to take the motor and 2 of the M4 18 screws, and we're going to attach the motor up top. Okay, so all I did was lay it down just to make it a little bit easier here, because we're going to take those 2 screws and we're going to line it up with the pre-threaded holes. Let's just get it started. Remember, these are the M4 18 screws. And I'm not going to over tighten it just yet. Let's get that in there. Now let's snug it up a little. So now the next step is just to attach the gantry to the base. There are 2 holes here that will line up with 2 holes here, and 2 holes here that will line up here. And we are going to grab the M5 30s, so there are 4 of them, 2 for each side. Just going to let that go down. And we're going to screw in for underneath, so let's do that now and attach the gantry. Okay, so what I like to do is just get them started. Don't want to over tighten them. I just want to get them started, and then we can turn it upside down and snug them up. So at least now I can at least get it in place where it's not going to move. So with both sides started by hand, I turned it gently on its side, and now I'm going to use the included Allen wrenches to snug it up. Okay, that side's done. I'm going to go do the other side and get it stood upright. Okay, the next step now is to take the support rods and we're going to attach them here and here. We're using, according to this, we're using the M4 by 8 screws. And if you notice on the end of the rod, it rotates. You don't want to over tighten just yet. You want to make it fit on its own. You don't want to force it. So let's start with getting the top on. And we will slowly rotate the bottom screw. And we will rotate the top one as well. Okay, we've almost got it. Let's line this up. Perfect. Okay, I'm not going to over tighten right now. Let's go do the other side. Okay, let's go over to this side now. Start with there, see where we're at. Looks pretty good. Okay, I'm actually going to go back to the other side because on that side I actually put the screws on in the opposite direction. They should start on the inside, threading to the outside, and I went backwards on that side. So I'm going to go over there and fix that right now. Okay, so we turn our attention now to the back of the machine, and we have a bracket right here that's going to go on the top. 2 holes right here and here will line up with 2 holes that are already pre-drilled. And we're going to use M4 by 16 screws and see if we can line it up. After the threaded rod is in place, make sure you grab the Allen screw. It goes in the top slot and give it a nice snug. Okay, still with our attention to the back of the machine, we are going to attach the filament spool holder. There are 2 holes here and here that correspond with 2 holes there. We have 2 screws. They are M5 by 20. And let's see if we can start that. Okay, so now we are going to turn our attention to the limit switch. And if you see on the back here, it has a screw that's going into a nut here that's going to go in this groove right here. And as it turns, this will go vertical to hold it secure. And it says to tighten it so that the top here is flush with the white line of that sticker. Let's grab my Allen key here. And let's get it snug so we can position it. Okay, that looks pretty good right there. And the last part of the assembly process is the display. 2 screws here in the front match up with two in the front part of the base. And that is it. Assembly is done. So now let's start plugging in the connectors. Okay, first things first is we have this cable right here that's coming out of the power supply board. And that's going to plug into the hotbed. Okay, we have two cables here that are marked E for extruder. So we have a small one right here. And then we have a bigger one right here. Okay, next we have here two that are labeled X. This goes right here. And this one goes right there. And we have two Z cables here, but one of them I'm going to snake behind here. It's the fatter one. So the fatter one goes right here. And then the other one, smaller one, goes right here. And then the last connector is the display right there. Now before you plug the power cord in, you have to look underneath here and there's a sticker to remove. You want to remove that sticker and you want to make sure that this setting right here is on the appropriate outlet setting for your region. So mine needs to be set to 115. It is on 115, so we don't have to switch it. If you need it to be on 230, you would just snap it the other way and it will read 230. So whatever yours is, make sure it's set for that before you plug in the power. Now that I know that we're all set, we're ready to plug in the power cord. Okay, now we have the 3D printer fully assembled, but before we power it on and start printing or leveling the bed, the first thing you want to do is really go over all the hardware and make sure everything is nice and tight. You want to go over under the bed. There are 3 nuts here, and what you want to do is you want to make sure that this is nice and stable, that it doesn't wobble, it's not loose. You want it to slide nice and have a little bit of resistance but not too much. Same here on these wheels, just a little bit of resistance but not a lot. There's an included wrench here to take care of these nuts underneath the bed, real quick and easy. And once you've got all that taken care of, then we are ready to fire it up, level the bed, and start printing. So let's do that. Okay, now that we have everything tightened, we're ready to go. Let's power it on. And what we're going to do right now before we level the bed is we're going to heat the bed. It's highly recommended that you heat the bed prior to doing the leveling. So it's got a nice touch color screen. So right up here says nozzle bed. We're going to go down here to tune, nozzle temperature, heated bed temperature, and we are going to increase that. We're going to increase it to 60. I'm going to hit back, go back to home, and right now it's at 27 degrees. And you'll see it going up, and once it gets to 60, we'll go to leveling. Okay, with the bed now at 60 degrees, we're going to go over to the controller here. We're going to hit utilities, and it says filament or leveling. We're going to do leveling, and then it has 5 locations, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to represent each corners and the center. We're going to start off with 1. And I'm going to use the paper method. And what you want to do is you want to either lower or raise the bed so that you feel some resistance when you pull the paper. Okay. Let's see where we are here. So we're going to loosen that. And you're not going to get it spot on right away. I'm recommending doing this 3-4 times at least. Loosen that. And for those who are wondering, lefty loosey, righty tighty. Go right if you want to get tighter to the nozzle, left if you want to loosen it from the nozzle. And now we'll do the middle. Okay, so I'm definitely a little loose there. So now I'm going to repeat the process a couple more times to get it as close as I can, and I'll be right back. Okay, now with the bed now leveled, I'm heating up the extruder to 200, and then I'm going to load the filament. Okay, I'm in the back of the machine, and I'm going to get ready to feed some of the included sample filament. And although this part is plastic, I do like the quality here of each of the bearings. Those are at least metal. And I'm just going to feed it in. Just like that. And let's start a print. A nice feature here that as I was loading the filament in that I noticed is that I have the ability to go down to move, and I can use this to raise the Z to get the filament, to start feeding through and not, be right on top of the bed. So that's a nice little feature to be able to do that. Okay, so I took the included drive, and there is a slot in the back for the SD card, for the micro SD. And we're going to go over here, we're going to hit print, files, and let's start with the cube. And click open. Are you ready to print this G code? Yes. And let's see what it does. Okay, it's all done. Let's see how it does. Okay, finished the cube. And aside from a little bit of noise down the bottom right there, and the bottom left by the Y, I mean, the layers are really, really clean. I tell you, for a first print, not bad at all. Let's move on to another one. Okay, so the layers look really, really good. Clean here. I've got a little bit of noise chatter around this ridge right here along this backside, but nothing terrible. Again, like I haven't done any adjustments yet, so like this is printing really, really well, given the fact that I haven't really, fine-tuned it. It could also be a slicing issue or maybe even a sample filament. So again, another quality print right here. Let's move on to the benchy. Okay, for the benchy, I loaded in Longer's PLA Gray. And it actually, if you look from the back, you can see it feeding the filament automatically, which is a really, really, really nice feature. And come over to the control panel. It says loading filament, press OK to stop. Okay, so the benchy has finished. And if you look closely, looks like I got some noise or chatter here in the front. But the arch itself, the arch looks pretty good. The deck looks really good. You can kind of see in there. The roof, everything else looks pretty good. The layering looks okay. Now again, remember, this was just the initial setup with the paper, so this could be me just making some adjustments to the level of the bed. It could be a slicing issue, but overall, like, it's really not that bad. Okay, I've taken some time to re-level the bed, tune it in a little better, and now I'm going to reprint the benchy because I want to give it a truer representation about the capabilities of this printer. I just highlighted the file, hit yes, and now let's print. And there she is. Look how much better that looks. Just a little bit of fine tuning. And she looks perfect. Alright guys, so that's it for the Longer LK5 Pro. As you can see, it prints absolutely beautiful. I'm really glad that I took the time to adjust the bed, check the slicer, so that you can see the difference how, the machine prints, say, like right out of the box versus how it can look when you just take the time to fine tune it. And that goes really for any 3D printer. You'll have to do that. But as you can see, it prints absolutely beautifully. I love the color touchscreen right here in this area. I like the spool mount in the back because what it does, it kind of it makes it feel like a smaller footprint on your desk or your table or whatnot, despite the fact that it's got a 300 by 300 print area. So I really like the machine. I highly recommend it. And one thing I will say is I had a couple questions for Longer and I reached out to them, and They were incredibly responsive. They were some of the nicest people that I've ever talked to. So their customer service was impeccable. It's some of the best that I've ever dealt with. So that's a huge bonus too. So I'm going to put a link in the description below if you guys are interested in this. Comment below if you have any further questions. Otherwise, thanks for checking out the video. We'll see you next time.